The Invisible Man. This 2020 adaptation modernized the classic monster by turning invisibility into a metaphor for gaslighting and domestic abuse. Produced on a budget of just $7 million, the film grossed over $144 million worldwide. Director Leigh Whannell utilized negative space cinematography, frequently lingering on empty corners of rooms to force the audience to search for a threat that wasn't there. The film's invisibility suit was designed with hundreds of small cameras, playing on the modern fear of surveillance tech rather than magic potions. Elizabeth Moss's performance was praised for depicting PTSD, and in several scenes, she acts opposite nothing, relying entirely on pantomime. The opening escape sequence contains zero dialogue for nearly 10 minutes, relying solely on sound design to build tension. It revitalized the Universal Monster catalog by stripping away the gothic elements and focusing on the psychological terror of an unseen abuser. It proves that empty frames can be scarier than CGI monsters. Signs. The Brazilian birthday party footage in Signs remains one of the most effective jump scares in cinema history. Director M. Night Shyamalan shot the birthday party scene using a handheld camcorder to degrade the quality and mimic real found footage. The alien's pose in the footage, walking swiftly past the alley, was intentionally blocked to mirror the famous Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage. The scene relies on the unseen, breaking the tension with a sudden daylight reveal rather than a dark shadow. The film grossed $408 million, largely driven by word of mouth regarding the scares. It demonstrates how low-fidelity visuals can enhance realism and terror. Cloverfield. Cloverfield launched with a mysterious trailer attached to Transformers that showed no title, only the release date, 1/18/08. The marketing campaign included fake websites for the fictional drink Slusho and the drilling company Tagruato. Monster designer Neville Page created the creature as a biological baby suffering from separation anxiety, not an invading warrior. The parasites that drop off the monster, dog-sized crabs, were added to give the human characters an immediate ground-level threat since the monster was too big to interact with directly. One shot of the Brooklyn Bridge collapsing took months to render, but the shaky cam style hid the CGI imperfections. The film reveals the monster's origin, falling from the sky, in the final seconds of the footage, visible only if looking closely at the ocean behind the characters. It redefined viral marketing and successfully merged the Godzilla-style kaiju genre with the Blair Witch found footage aesthetic. A Quiet Place. The film's premise of sound-hunting aliens required the actors to learn American Sign Language for an authentic portrayal of survival. Actress Millicent Simmons, who is deaf in real life, influenced the script and corrected the cast's ASL to be more natural and colloquial rather than rigid. The production budget was $17 million, yet it grossed over $340 million. Sound designers created sound envelopes for the creatures, mimicking sonar clicking to navigate. The crew poured tons of sand on locations to dampen footsteps during filming. It turned sound mixing into the primary antagonist. Under the Skin. Jonathan Glazer's film blurred the line between fiction and reality by filming Scarlett Johansson interacting with unsuspecting non-actors. The production rigged a white van with 8 hidden cameras to film Johansson driving around Glasgow. Several men seen in the film were real pedestrians who were lured into the van by Johansson, and they were only informed they were in a movie after the scene was cut. Glazer wanted the film to feel like an alien perspective, observing humanity without emotion or judgment. The black void scenes were achieved practically, using a non-reflective black velvet material and specific lighting, not green screen. The film was a box office failure, grossing $7.2 million on a $13 million budget, but became a critical cult classic. The guerrilla filmmaking style creates a unique, voyeuristic discomfort that traditional scripting cannot replicate. 28 days later. The iconic scenes of a deserted London were not CGI, but were filmed in short bursts at dawn. Director Danny Boyle and crew shot the empty bridge and street scenes at 4 a.m. on summer mornings, holding traffic for only minutes at a time. The police cooperated to use rolling roadblocks, allowing the crew to capture about a minute of emptiness before traffic resumed. The film was shot on Canon XL1 digital video cameras, which gave the movie a gritty, newsreel aesthetic that heightened the realism. It popularized the fast zombie, or infected, moving away from the shambling undead of the Romero era. The infected were portrayed by athletes and dancers to ensure their movements were explosive and physically intense. It revitalized the zombie genre by grounding it in viral realism and using digital cinematography to create a documentary-like panic. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The 1978 remake ends with one of the most chilling sounds in cinema history. The final scream of the Pod People was created by sound designer Ben Burtt, famous for Star Wars. Burtt created the sound by recording pig squeals and mixing them with other organic noises to create a shrill, non-human shriek. The man-faced dog scene used a practical silicone mask on a real dog, and it remains one of the most disturbing practical effects of the era. Director Philip Kaufman chose the bleak ending over the studio's request for a hopeful one. A rare remake that equals or surpasses the original, largely due to its refusal to offer a happy resolution. Possessor. Brandon Cronenberg, son of David Cronenberg, upholds the family legacy with this ultra-violent tech horror. The film relies heavily on practical gore rather than CGI, and the melting and face-swapping sequences used practical prosthetics and in-camera lighting tricks. There is a distinct uncut version that is only 1 minute longer but features significantly more graphic violence, including eye gouging and explicit content. The plot uses the concept of corporate espionage via brain implant technology to explore the total loss of identity. It modernizes body horror for the digital age, suggesting our minds are as vulnerable to hacking as our computers. Annihilation. The bear scene in Annihilation is widely cited as one of the most terrifying sequences of the 2010s. The mutant bear creature was designed with a skull that has human teeth tessellated into it, implying it has physically absorbed its victims. The sound design for the bear's roar includes the human screams of the character Cass, played by Tuva Novotny, mixed with tiger and dog vocalizations. This concept, the shimmer refracting DNA, means the bear isn't just mimicking the woman, but that physically, part of her is trapped in its throat. Director Alex Garland pushed for the surreal, psychedelic ending, which led to clashes with producers who wanted a more traditional finale. The film was released directly to Netflix in international markets due to fears it was too intellectual for general audiences. It fuses beautiful, surreal imagery with visceral horror, creating a unique dread where the monster isn't just killing you, but becoming you. By the way, if this is your kind of content, I post videos like this regularly. Subscribing would really help out. Event Horizon. This film is infamous for its lost footage that was cut to avoid an NC-17 rating. The original cut included a much longer Visions of Hell sequence, often referred to as the Blood Orgy. Deleted content included explicit shots of crew members tearing out their own organs and dental drilling scenes. The footage was thought to be totally lost, though low-quality VHS excerpts have surfaced online. Director Paul W.S. Anderson modeled the ship, the Event Horizon, after the Notre Dame Cathedral to give it a gothic, tomb-like atmosphere in space. The film was a critical and commercial bomb upon release, but gained a massive cult following as Hellraiser in space. It serves as the ultimate what-if in sci-fi horror history, with the lost footage becoming a legend of its own. Fire in the Sky. While largely a drama, this film contains a 10-minute abduction sequence considered the most traumatic representation of aliens ever filmed. Based on the book The Walton Experience by Travis Walton, who claims to have been abducted in 1975, the medical exam scene deviates from standard gray alien tropes, featuring brown, wrinkled creatures and industrial, dirty technology. Specific practical effects included a sheet of latex mimicking cling film that suffocates the character, and a needle directed at his eye. The film had a budget of $15 million and grossed $19.9 million, performing modestly, but traumatizing a generation on home video. The scene's horror comes from the protagonist being conscious and paralyzed while the procedures occur. It shifted the abduction narrative from spooky lights to visceral medical torture. Pandorum. Christian Alvart's deep space horror film follows two astronauts awakening from hypersleep with no memory of their mission aboard the spacecraft Elysium. Dennis Quaid and Ben Foster portray crew members Peyton and Bauer, who discover the ship has been overrun by pale, mutated humanoid creatures hunting in the darkness. The film reveals that Pandorum is a psychological condition caused by deep space travel, inducing paranoia, delusions, and homicidal rage in affected crew members. The creatures hunting the protagonist are revealed to be devolved descendants of the original passengers, mutated over centuries by an enzyme meant to help them adapt to their destination planet. The ship's population has been cannibalizing itself for generations in the darkness. The twist ending reveals the Elysium successfully reached its destination planet, Tanis, years ago, and has been sitting on the ocean floor, meaning the survivors can simply swim to the surface. The film cost roughly $33 million to produce, but grossed only $20.6 million worldwide, becoming a financial disappointment despite strong creature design and atmosphere. It combines elements of Event Horizon and Alien, while adding the unique horror of realizing humanity has already reached salvation, but destroyed itself in ignorance. The Fly. David Cronenberg's masterpiece is a tragedy of physical decay, winning an Oscar for its gruesome makeup effects. Makeup artist Chris Walas designed the transformation in 7 distinct stages. Jeff Goldblum spent up to 5 hours in the makeup chair daily for the later stages. The vomit drop scene, where Brundlefly dissolves a donut and a hand, utilized a practical mixture of honey, eggs, and milk. The final creature, the space bug, was a complex puppet operated by rods and cables. Cronenberg intended the transformation to be a metaphor for disease and aging, which resonated heavily during the height of the AIDS epidemic. It effectively combined a touching romance with repulsive body horror, creating a monster the audience pities rather than hates. Videodrome. The breathing television scene is a pinnacle of practical surrealism. To achieve the effect of the TV screen pulsating, special effects artist Rick Baker used a flexible rubber dental dam stretched over the screen. An air compressor and a rear projector were used to push the image out toward the actor. Betamax tapes were used for the stomach insertion scenes because VHS tapes were physically too large to fit the prosthetic abdomen wound. It predicted the fusion of human flesh and technology decades before smartphones. Nope. Jordan Peele subverts the UFO trope by revealing the saucer isn't a ship, but a biological predator. The alien entity Jean Jacket was designed to look like a biblical angel, specifically Ophanim in its final unfolded form. The creature's eye was designed to resemble a vintage camera shutter, reinforcing the film's theme of spectacle and observation. The terrifying Gordy's Home chimpanzee attack was inspired by the real-life 2009 attack by Travis the chimp, who mauled his owner's friend. The scene inside the digestive tract of the alien features the screams of a crowd being crushed, creating horror through sound rather than gore. It treats the UFO as a wild animal rather than an intelligent invader, adding a layer of primal nature horror to sci-fi. Sunshine. Danny Boyle's sci-fi thriller shifts abruptly into a slasher film in its final act. The ship Icarus II features a gold foil heat shield, designed based on real NASA satellite shielding to deflect radiant energy. Science advisor Brian Cox admitted the movie contains bad physics, like sound in space, for cinematic effect. The villain, Pinbacker, is filmed with a blurring and distortion effect to represent his detachment from reality and quantum instability. The spacesuits were designed to look like heavy welder's gear rather than puffy NASA suits, emphasizing the hostility of the sun. It portrays the sun not as a life giver, but as a terrifying, indifferent god. Predator. John McTiernan's action horror masterpiece follows an elite military rescue team hunted by an extraterrestrial trophy hunter in the Central American jungle. Arnold Schwarzenegger leads a cast of bodybuilders and action stars portraying soldiers who realize they're being systematically killed by something invisible. The Predator creature, designed by Stan Winston, features active camouflage technology, thermal vision, shoulder-mounted plasma weapons, and a mandible mouth that became iconic in sci-fi horror. Winston created the design after the original Jean-Claude Van Damme suit was scrapped for looking ridiculous. The film's genius lies in structure, starting as a military action film before transforming into survival horror as the team is reduced from hunters to prey. The Predator's honor code, only hunting armed opponents, and removing its technology to fight Schwarzenegger hand-to-hand, elevated it beyond a simple monster into a character. The creature's self-destruct nuclear device at the film's end demonstrates that even in death, it remains a threat. Schwarzenegger's mud camouflage discovery, that covering himself in cold mud hides him from thermal vision, provided a logical vulnerability that felt earned. The film grossed $98 million on a $15 million budget, spawning a franchise that includes sequels, crossovers with Alien, and establishing the Predator as one of cinema's most recognizable extraterrestrial threats. It proved that combining genres, blending macho action with genuine horror, could create something greater than either genre alone. If you found this valuable, consider subscribing so you never miss new content. Thanks for watching.